Hey, my beautiful friends, welcome back to our quiet little corner of the internet. Go ahead and grab your favorite warm drink, settle into your coziest chair, and let us just take a deep and slow breath together. Because if you have glided through the financial news or checked your social feeds lately, it probably feels like the whole world is shouting at the top of its lungs. People are throwing around phrases like bond market collapse and screaming about numbers like 5%, as if it is some kind of terrifying financial doomsday that is going to ruin everything we have worked for. It is honestly so incredibly exhausting. And it is exactly the kind of chaotic noise that breeds deep money anxiety and makes us lie awake at night wondering if we are doing enough. So today, I really want to do something completely different for us. I want us to sit down just like two old friends on a quiet rainy afternoon and just gently unpack what is actually happening in the world, without the panic, without the hype. And without all that scary clickbait, because at the very end of the day, money is not just a cold spreadsheet of numbers or a flashing green and red screen, it is simply the energy we use to shape our daily lives. And true wealth is just about having the breathing room to enjoy a slow morning without worrying about a market index. So let us talk about these 5% interest rates, and why everyone seems to be completely losing their minds over government bonds right now. You see, for a very long time, our entire economic system was basically floating on a peaceful sea of incredibly cheap money. It was super easy to borrow, it was easy to spend, and it made everything in the housing and stock market feel a bit inflated and artificial, like a balloon that just keeps growing. But now, the tides are turning, and the government is essentially offering to pay a whole 5% interest just for letting them hold on to your savings. Now, to a lot of aggressive people on the internet, that sounds like a massive and dangerous threat to the stock market, because they start wondering why anyone would ever risk their hard-earned savings in volatile shares when they can just get a guaranteed 5% return by doing absolutely nothing. But if we look at this through a much gentler lens, it is actually just the universe hitting a natural reset button. It is a comforting reminder that money has real value, and that patience and steady saving are finally being rewarded again. Let us think about how a bond actually works, without getting tangled up in confusing Wall Street jargon or academic textbooks. Imagine you are simply lending some lunch money to a trusted lifelong friend who promises to give you a little thank you payment every single year, and then give you your original money back at the very end of the term. That is all a government bond really is. It is just you lending your funds to the safest borrower around. But because the government needs to borrow a lot of money right now to cover its own heavy spending and deficits, it has to offer a bigger thank you payment to attract people, which is why that rate has crept up past that magic 5% mark. And when these new interest rates go up, the actual resale value of older bonds goes down. And that is exactly what the headlines mean when they yell that bond prices are collapsing. It is not a sudden explosion or a structural disaster. It is just a natural shift in the balance of supply and demand. It is just like when a brand new upgraded edition of your favorite book comes out, and suddenly the older version becomes a bit cheaper to buy at the local store. But here is the gentle truth we need to remind ourselves of every single morning. This 5% rate is not a monster under your bed. It is just a new baseline for our financial environment. For the average person who is just trying to live a beautiful and intentional life, this actually opens up some really lovely opportunities to practice low-stress investing. If you are someone who is saving up for a house in the next year or two, or if you are looking after parents who need a steady and safe income, being able to lock in a 5% return without any sleepless nights is an absolute gift. It is like a warm cup of herbal tea for a stressed-out portfolio. It gives you a solid foundation, a bit of clear visibility in a foggy world, but at the very same time, we do not want to let short-term excitement make us completely abandon our long-term dreams and aspirations, because history has shown us time and time again that over 10 or 20 years, a thoughtful basket of great companies will outpace that 5% return, because those real companies grow, innovate, and adapt to inflation every single day. While a bond just stays exactly where you left it, it is all about balance. My friends, it is about creating a financial garden that has both sturdy old trees for shelter and beautiful flowers that grow beautifully over time. We do not need to choose one or the other, and we certainly do not need to panic sell our stocks just because the market is throwing a little tantrum. When you see headlines talking about a slow constriction of the financial system or worrying about a government debt spiral, try to remember that the economy has always moved in natural cycles. We had the great bond disaster way back in 1994. We had banking tremors just a few years ago, and every single time, the world kept spinning, people kept waking up, buying their morning coffee, and building their lives. The noise is always temporary, but your relationship with your money is permanent, so let us choose to do less. Let us embrace a beautiful philosophy of subtraction rather than addition. You do not need to trade cryptocurrency late at night. You do not need to constantly check your phone to see if the market is up or down. And you definitely do not need to feel guilty for just wanting a simple, quiet life. Instead, let us focus on what we can actually control in our own homes. We can make sure we are not carrying heavy, high-interest debt that eats away at our mental peace. We can keep a comfortable emergency fund sitting safely in a high-yield account, earning that beautiful 5%. And we can let our long-term investments just sit quietly in the background, working for us like an invisible, patient laborer, while we focus on the things that truly matter, like spending quality time with people we love, or learning a new skill, or just enjoying a quiet walk outside in nature. This current moment in the market is just a single chapter in a very long book. It is a sign that the era of free money is taking a break, and that we are entering a season where being mindful, grounded, and cautious is highly valued. And honestly, that is a beautiful space to operate in. It forces us to be more deliberate with our choices, to appreciate the stability of a guaranteed return, and to remain patient with our growth assets, so as the news continues to buzz and swirl over the coming weeks, just let it wash over you without letting it into your heart. You are doing just fine, you are here, you are learning, and you are taking care of your future with so much gentleness and wisdom. If this perspective brought a little bit of calm to your day, please feel free to drop a message in the comments below. I love reading your thoughts and hearing about your own financial journeys. It really feels like we are building a sweet little community here. And if you would like to stay a while, go ahead and subscribe so we can keep having these quiet chats together. Take care of yourself, be incredibly kind to your mind today, and I will see you in our next video. Now, let us look a little deeper into why people get so swept up in the emotion of the markets. Because it is truly fascinating how a few percentage points can cause such a massive wave of collective anxiety across the globe. When we hear talk about the national debt being like a smoker in the intensive care unit, it paints such a dark and scary picture, and it is designed to make you feel completely helpless. But if we step back and look at history, governments have been dealing with massive debts and deficits for generations. And the system has a way of adjusting and finding a new equilibrium. It is not your job to fix the federal budget, and it is certainly not worth sacrificing your daily happiness over things happening in Washington or on Wall Street. Your only responsibility is to look after your own small economy, your household, your well-being, and your peace of mind. Think of your savings as a gentle shield that protects you from the unpredictability of the outside world. When interest rates are higher, it means your shield is actually working a little bit harder for you, generating a bit of extra cushion each month. So instead of viewing 5% as a sign of an impending crash, we can choose to view it as a helpful tool that provides a bit of extra security for our short-term needs. It is all about how we choose to frame the narrative in our own minds. We can choose the path of fear and constant monitoring, or we can choose the path of acceptance and steady, mindful action. I know it can be incredibly tempting to want to jump in and try to perfectly time the market, to sell everything right before a dip and buy back at the absolute bottom. But honestly, that is a game that even the most sophisticated computers struggle to win consistently, and the emotional toll it takes on your spirit is just way too high. Every time you open a trading app with a racing heart, you are spending a piece of your precious life energy on something that is ultimately outside of your control. That is why I am such a big fan of just automate, simplify, and then go live your life. Set up your accounts so that a little bit of money goes into your savings and your diversified investments automatically every single month, and then just step away from the screen. Treat your investments like a tree you planted in the backyard. You do not go out there every single hour and dig up the dirt just to see if the roots are growing. You trust the soil, you trust the rain, and you let time do the heavy lifting. And right now, the soil is actually offering us a very decent yield on our cash, which means we can afford to be even more patient with our other assets. Let us also chat a bit about the housing market, because I know so many of you are feeling deeply frustrated by how expensive homes have become and how high mortgage rates have climbed. It can feel like the dream of owning a home is slipping further out of reach, and that can bring up a lot of complicated feelings of inadequacy or worry about the future. But remember, a house is ultimately a place to create memories and find comfort. It is not the only metric of a successful or happy life. Renting while keeping your savings parked in a safe 5% environment is actually a very smart and powerful financial position to be in right now. It gives you incredible flexibility, shields you from the hidden costs of home maintenance, and allows your capital to grow quietly without being locked down when the timing is right and the market finds its balance again. You will be in a wonderfully strong position to make a move, but until then, do not let society make you feel like you are falling behind. just because you do not own a piece of property yet. You are exactly where you need to be, and your financial path is uniquely yours. Let us also address the conversation around things like cryptocurrency and alternative assets. Because when people lose faith in traditional systems, they often rush toward these highly speculative spaces out of a sense of urgency or fear of missing out. It is totally natural to be curious about new technologies, but we have to be so careful not to let that curiosity turn into reckless gambling with money. We cannot afford to lose. If you do choose to explore those spaces, let it be with a very small, playful amount of money that would not change your life if it disappeared tomorrow. Do not look at it as a magical rescue boat that is going to instantly solve all your financial worries. True financial security is built slowly, brick by brick, through consistent habits, mindful spending, and a lot of patience. There are no real shortcuts to a peaceful life. And that is actually a very beautiful thing because it means the journey itself is where we grow and learn to trust ourselves. As we look ahead at the rest of this year, there will undoubtedly be more surprising economic data, more shocking headlines, and more experts telling you to panic, but you have a secret weapon that they do not have. You have the power to choose content over chaos. You have the wisdom to know that a simple life with less stuff and less stress is worth infinitely more than a slightly higher number on a screen achieved through constant worry. So let us promise each other that we will keep things beautifully simple, we will keep learning, we will keep supporting one another, and we will continue to view our finances not as a stressful competition, but as a gentle, loving way to take care of our future selves. Thank you so much for spending this quiet time with me today. Your presence means the absolute world to me, and I am so incredibly grateful for this space we share. Until next time, please take care of your heart, be gentle with your thoughts, and remember that you are doing so much better than you think. See you very soon. Let us just sit with this feeling of calm for a moment longer, because it is so rare to find a place where we can just talk about money without feeling judged or pressured to do more. Everywhere else, the message is always about optimization, about squeezing every last cent out of your portfolio, about working a side hustle until you burn out completely. But that is not what life is about. We are not machines designed for maximum economic output. We are human beings who need rest, connection, and simplicity. And when the financial world gets complicated, the best response is often to become even more simple in our daily habits. Look at your budget not as a restrictive cage, but as a gentle guide that helps you align your spending with your true values. Ask yourself if the things you are buying are actually bringing real joy and peace into your home, or if they are just temporary distractions from the stress of daily life. When we learn to need less, we suddenly realize we have so much more freedom than we ever thought possible. And that freedom is the greatest return on investment you could ever ask for. It is worth more than any stock market gain or bond yield. So as you go about your week, try to bring a little bit of this minimalism into your relationship with your money. Unplug from the constant market updates, delete the apps that make your chest feel tight, and trust that your steady, quiet plan is more than enough to carry you through whatever storm the world tries to create. You have all the tools you need right inside you, and you are guiding your life with so much grace. Goodbye for now, my friends. And remember to keep things sweet and simple. Let us just think about how much energy we save when we stop trying to predict the unpredictable future. The experts on television love to act like they have a crystal ball, but the truth is, nobody truly knows what the market will do tomorrow, next week, or next year. And when we finally accept that uncertainty is just a natural part of life, a huge weight lifts off our shoulders. We can stop reacting to every little wobble in the economy and start focusing on building a life that feels good on the inside. Not just one that looks good on paper. Think about the small daily rituals that bring you true contentment. A fresh cup of coffee in the morning, a good conversation with a neighbor, or the feeling of finishing a great book. None of these things require a complicated investment strategy or a massive net worth. They just require our presence and a mind that is not consumed by financial worry. That is the real goal of our financial journey, to buy back our time and our attention, so we can pour them into the things that genuinely feed our souls. So when the headlines try to convince you that a 5% interest rate is a crisis, just smile. And remember that it is just another change in the weather. You do not get angry at the rain, you just grab an umbrella and keep walking. And in this economic season, our umbrella is just a simple, conservative approach to our money. We keep our costs low, we save what we can, we appreciate the safety of a decent yield, and we let the rest of the world chase after illusions of quick wealth. You are choosing a path of quiet strength and lasting stability, and that is something to be incredibly proud of. I am so happy to be walking this path right alongside you, and I cannot wait to connect with you again in our next chat. Stay cozy. Be kind to yourself and let your mind rest easy tonight. Let us take one more gentle breath together before we part ways, and just appreciate the fact that we have the space and time to care for ourselves in this way. It is a true privilege to be able to step back from the frantic pace of the world and choose a gentler path. You are doing a wonderful job, and your future self is going to thank you for the calm, sensible choices you are making today. Goodbye, and take care.